So color grading is tough, but here are the top 5 mistakes that I see a lot of people making and that you should be avoiding. Number 1, your starting place sucks. So this has more to do with your shooting than your color grading, but if your clips from the beginning aren't exposed that well, then it's gonna be really hard to color grade those shots and make them look good. So you wanna make sure that you're nailing your exposures and that your footage looks good. It really helps to shoot in things like logs, so you have a lot of information to work with and you can color grade it to whatever look you want. So make sure your starting point is good because that's gonna go a long way. Number 2 is choosing weird colors. A lot of people, when they're starting out, they start color grading and they don't really understand the way colors work yet. So they just try and use weird colors that just don't work and look super unnatural. For example, doing something like putting magenta into the shadows or putting magenta into the midtones. It just doesn't look natural at all and you're really making it look amateur right away. As soon as you look at this, you think amateur and not professional. Try and use colors that work naturally with skin tones like teal or blue in the shadows. Those automatically work really well with skin tones, so they're gonna look really natural. You're not the first to try some weird colors and you're not a genius for trying to use weird colors. Keep your color grade natural and don't let it be distracting to the viewer. Number 3 is going Oompa Loompa, and if you haven't seen Willy Wonka or Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, you have no idea what I'm talking about. But what I mean by this is that it's great to use a LUT, but don't go overboard with the LUT. A lot of LUTs are meant to be really overpowering in the beginning, and you need to dial those down to make them look more natural. You do not want super saturated and really orange faces and just over the top colors. You want to keep it natural, so again, it's not distracting the viewers. So definitely use LUTs. They're a great starting point, but dial them down. Don't go overboard with them. Number 4 is skipping color correcting. You can't just stick a LUT on your footage and that's it, you're good to go. You need to color correct your shots. It's really rare that a clip is perfectly color balanced, has the perfect contrast, perfect saturation. Those are all things that you need to dial in color correction. So yes, you need to go through each clip and color correct those shots so that when you stick on that LUT over top all your footage, the LUT is gonna be at its optimal and it's gonna look really good for all of those shots. I like to use 3-way color correctors to do my correcting. I just find it's the easiest and fastest way to do it, and it's just an intuitive way because all your colors are laid out there. You could do it using things like curves, but it's much harder, I find. So make sure the contrast is right, the colors are balanced, and the saturation looks good. Don't get lazy on this one. Make sure you're color correcting. It's really, really important. And then we have number 5, which is forgetting to match your shots. You need to be going from one shot to the next and comparing the colors so they match. You want to have the same amount of contrast, saturation. The color tone should be the same. You shouldn't have one clip from the same scene that's really warm and then the next one's going to be really cool. They should all look the same if they're from the same sequence. And this applies to all your clips, but especially within one sequence. So for example, if you have one location, all those clips should have the same color grade look. And then if you go to another location, you can change the color grade up, but I would recommend sticking to a similar look for the whole video. Most of the time, I'm using the same LUT for the whole video, and I'm just color correcting through and making sure all the shots look the same. To match shots really accurately, you need to be using scopes like vector scope and waveform. Scopes give you a scientific way of looking at colors and contrast so that your eyes aren't tricking you into thinking that these two clips are matched when they're not. The vector scope is perfect for looking at colors, and the waveform is really good for contrast and exposure. It's a dead giveaway of an amateur color grading job if one shot looks totally different from the next. So there we go, 5 easy things that you can avoid in your color grading process so you don't look like an amateur, because that's one of the things that people see right away and it says so much about your filmmaking work. So you don't want to put a whole bunch of time and effort into editing this really cool video or vlog or whatever it is, but your color grade sucks so people are right away turned off and not even watching the whole video. Don't make these mistakes and set yourself apart from the rest of the guys.